Well, I didn't pass them,
I also realized
but I
that
would.
on the live show, I didn't have my audio on, so no one could hear me the entire time. So this has been a
Wow.
really great start.
Wow, what the fuck
Wait,
are
so
you
far?
doing?
Like,
How
you mean
many
like in the last
You were,
episodes
you were
have
this
you
worried
done?
about you were this worried about having a document and you can't get the rest of your life together.
You try having a pregnant wife and a couple kids, and you tell me you can
I
get your life
don't.
together.
I don't
know.
want to.
All right, then. That's fine.
That would require two things that I don't want to do right now, which is have a kid or get married. So let's not.
More power to you.
Hmm.
So
What are we talking about? Let's talk about League of Legends.
Yeah, let's talk about League of Legends. It's enough talking about our daily lives and where we live and what's going on outside. So we had a listener write in. He wanted to talk to us about FlexQ a little bit. His name is Chris. Chris, thank you for writing in. I'm going to go ahead and read his email, and then we are going to talk about it. So Chris writes, it seems as though most people treat FlexQ as either ranked, light, or serious norms. I happen to enjoy FlexQ as a solo queuer for the combination of increased stakes and more cohesive team-oriented late game. The other nice thing about FlexQ as a solo is that you can get picked to continue running with random groups that you wind up clicking well with. People that play Flex seem a little more interested in making connections after a good game. Why does FlexQ get such a bad rap? And he continues, as a single queue for Flex, I always get thrown in with duos or trios along with another single filler. If I play in a Flex queue and run into a group of 3 that I like to run it back with, they can't pick me up with 4. What is the motivator for this? Is it a problem for a party of 4 who would always require a single pickup player? Basically, why is Riot designing Flex queue to be so that you can only play with anything but a group of 4, or I guess 4?
Did we want to talk about that first? I guess you might as well since we're there, right?
Right.
There's a lot.
Why you can't group as a group of 4? I think there's 2 reasons for it. One is something he touches on, but I don't know if it's the main reason. And what he does touch on is that the single player that queues up by himself is the default scapegoat for the 4 players that are playing. And that's not to say that, every group of 4 you group up with is going to shit on you and talk bad about you.
It's
And
also way easier to get mad at one random than it is to
Exactly.
get mad at your friends or people that you've played with before.
Well, unless
how many times
we're
we talked
playing
about
with each
deflecting the
other,
blame?
'cause dear God.
I mean,
And if
that's
you're-
fine.
Yeah.
But there's also a difference in that if you have 4 people on chat together, it's way easier to talk shit and just dismiss something that somebody else does because you can't hear them talk or defend themselves or
voice.
Right,
whatever.
they can't defend
Yeah,
themselves.
they don't have a voice. That's exactly what it is. It's just you're already running with your own little clique, and then you throw some random dude in there. Or lady, some random lady in there, and things get weird.
Truthfully, I think it's queue times more than anything
Yeah,
else.
that's
Yeah,
the second
100%.
thing. I agree with
I
that.
think I think what you just described is a holdover mentality from last season when we only had dynamic queue all season, and I think there was so much frustration with that I think the 4-person group bullying turned into a thing. That said, they even had a lot of evidence suggesting that the 4-man queue was the type that did have the longest queue time. Not only because they were trying to match you up against either a 2 and 3 or realistically another group of 4 and 1 person, but then also just 4 is kind of that weird number. I think that was the most unsupported group.
There
I do
just
think
aren't a lot of solo queuers that are going to join for Flex. I think Chris is the outlier here.
Well, you also have to find the spot that the one they have a bunch of groups of 4 looking for one person, not only just for a solo person that matches one of the lane they haven't
roles,
filled.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're trying to fit a very, very specific niche. And I bet that does, if we had that again, we had the 4 and 1 possibility, your queue would pop instantly as the one person pretty much every time, unless you were always going. I don't even know what's the most played role now, but maybe still mid. That would be difficult to try to find. Oh, we have a team that just doesn't have a mid laner. You're perfect for them.
I do feel like FlexQ has a bit more autofilling going on.
Probably has to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would expect that.
That's all I got. There's
Have
more
you guys
autofilling.
run into anybody who's been in FlexQ who just doesn't give a fuck about FlexQ because it's LOL, not solo queue, and they just do whatever?
Is that us? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. I mean, I
That's me.
guess. But we only do that like we've done that when it's just us, all 5 of us, not with like another random, or like as let's say like 2 people queued up just to do it and they didn't feel like duo queuing or whatever, and there's another group of 3. Like, has anybody else run into the person who's like, well, this is flex queue, therefore it's less important than other stuff. I'm going to do what I want.
Everyone
I have
taken it seriously.
I haven't run into anybody who I felt was trollier than that person otherwise would have been in solo duo.
Yeah, never.
I mean, frankly, I haven't. I should, but I haven't run into that many trolls this season. Where I do recall running into a bunch for a long stretch of last season. I haven't played as aggressively this season as I did last year, but overall, it seems like players have turned up a little bit more positive.
That was a hell of a knock. I thought I know that you did a knock on wood thing. I thought somebody's door was getting beaten in. No joke. That came in that well. So sorry at home if that's what you thought too. It's like, hey, do I need to check my doors?
Check my door, right? So it's interesting to note that on patch 7.5, ranked flex queue was suboptimal. And then in 7.6 and 7.7, it went back to optimal, and queue times are generally low. So I'm curious of what happened in between those. If you guys don't notice, every patch, if you scroll to the bottom, they have a queue health indicator. And if there's a check mark, it means the queues are great. If there's an exclamation point, it means it's suboptimal, and they're just gonna keep an eye on it to see if they have to make any changes. And if there's a wrench, it means they're going to be making changes to that queue, and then they'll tell us what changes they're making to that queue. Right now, as of patch 7.5, that's the first time that that marker for flex or any of the queues has ever changed from a check mark. But moving into patch 7.6, it went back to a check. So there was something.
Where is that?
Players are playing. If you go to any patch,
the patch notes are like
patch
okay.
notes.
I haven't seen that.
If you scroll to the bottom, every patch has that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of context there, and they were kind of vague when they introduced it too. If something's wrong with the queue, we're gonna change it from a check to something else. And so the first time I saw that, I said, oh, that's weird. I wonder if there's any context for why this is not a check mark, why this isn't green, and I didn't see anything for it.
You can click through and see what it... Sorry, Dom. You can sit through... I mean, all they tell you, Punch, to your point, is when it's a exclamation point, says means one or more metrics are veering towards suboptimal, but the queue is still playable. We're happy to keep it as is. This is more of a heads up than a warning.
Going back to Chris's point, to start it off about ranked light series norms, but then the way he approaches it, like I almost feel like his approach to it is how Riot hopes things are going to work out, and that was like the actual plan with dynamic queue in the first place. Obviously, the rollout didn't work the way they wanted to, and that's why they sort of met halfway and got the solo duo queue going. But I mean, Adam, what did you have? It was earlier this season where you had the tinfoil hat theory that they were still planning to push flex queue as the ideal way to go.
Yeah, that's what I
mean,
said,
if overall people, this is a hilariously small sample to talk about it, but if everybody's experience is what this guy is having, and that like most people are working harder, it tends to be, maybe it's a little bit lighter. The attitudes are just because people, maybe because they aren't taking it as seriously or because it's the perceived less important queue. But if people are trying pretty hard and getting along and just being more agreeable, like that's kind of a successful social experiment in that regard.
Well, he's also jumping into a situation where he's with people who are playing with friends. And like that's usually just going to be a happier, like you're going to be jumping into a happier group of people as opposed to just the standard 5 people who don't know each other scenario. So I think, and if you're a nice person or easy to get along with, that's always going to be a good situation. So I can definitely respect that. I like that idea.
From what I've seen, flex queue. I mean, I only play flex queue with at least one other person. I don't play solo duo with other people. I play flex queue in that way because I can play with a wider range of people. My solo queue rating, not for most people on the show, but for a lot of people that I want to play with is too high to be able to duo with them. And then by the time I'm duoing with somebody, I want them to play, another queue. And what, like Chris says, there becomes more of an onus on you to perform better in this queue because there is LP at stake. But at the same time, the problem that I have with flex queue is that there is no ranked 5s queue. And so now this has become ranked 5s and duo
it's
and
become
trio queue.
ranked 5s, duo, trio queue, and it gets real
They get sticky to
there's a giant disconnect when you run into games queuing with 5 people.
Yeah.
And the matches that you get into doing that than there is if you queued with 3 or 2.
Did we?
I mean, it may as
Sean?
well.
And we got a bronze 3 on our team.
Okay, so there it is. Yeah. Like it gets weird in that like you go from, if you're just playing with like 2 or 3, it might go from like kind of more solo queue-esque to, if you have 5, it's immediately more team-based, and you have to be way more on your game, you have to pay way more attention, and like people need to fucking work cohesively, because if they don't, you're going to get smashed like a bunch of solo queue players going into play against 5 people that are paying attention. So I mean it gets dramatically different depending on what kind of composition you're
trying. And the 5's queue isn't necessarily more so strictly talking about a 5 versus 5 team. The balancing, from what I've noticed, isn't necessarily better from when they had a strictly 5's queue. And I think that was kind of what they wanted to test was, well, since there's so few teams of 5 queuing up, can we find a better balance between a group of 5 of an average lower elo compared to a group of 3 and a group of 2 of a higher elo? Can we test that out? But again, from my experience, there hasn't been a noticeable change. There's still a lot of one-sided stomps.
Yeah. It's like in a weird scenario, I can understand why they don't want to add ranked 5s when they have flex queue available, but I think it gets more it gets weird because you have solo duo queue, and then you have flex, which can be solo duo trio 5s, and then you could add if you removed 5s and you only allowed solo duo trio and then had ranked 5 queues, then you have a grab bag of what you're playing and how your skill level is, based on how you're playing the game. Like at that point, flex queue becomes nothing but the fuck around place that's maybe a little bit harder to play in than normal drafts, right?
Punch, you have done more ranked 5-person flex queue than anybody here. Have you actually noticed, have you been able to tell if you were up against a duo trio?
No idea. I have no clue whatsoever. Usually somebody else on my team will lull nexus the enemy team and see what the ranks are and whatnot, but I don't pay attention to that shit because knowing the skill level of who I'm playing against affects how I play, and I don't want that to happen. So I just go in blind.
So from a pure performance standpoint, then it doesn't, what does it matter?
I can't tell in game. The only time I'll ever find out is after the game, where somebody on the enemy team might say something like, "You guys were a group of 5. Oh, not fair. Riot. Burn. Pitchforks. Fire."
So is Riot matching your group of 5 against a group of 2 and 3?
Rarely. It's very rarely happened.
Okay.
But yeah, we are that bad.
Well, I don't know if that's bad or if that's just how
bad.
the queue is working. Like at that time, that's the easiest way to get a game going that stays within their parameters of waiting the 5 minutes.
I mean, they always said that was possible, but it's like if it's less than 1%, then it's probably only 1 or 2% at max.
Then who is complaining on the enemy team that you're a group of 5 if you're playing into 5?
No, they were complaining that they aren't a group of 5, and they're playing into us.
Right, that's what I'm asking. Like, I guess that's the 1% of the time that it happens, like the one game out of every 50.
I can count it on one hand how many times it's happened.
Okay. I mean,
if you're queued with one other person, I mean, if you're in a duo trio, I think until you get to maybe plat or something, running into another 5 shouldn't really be that big of a deal. You should still be able to succeed in everything, even if their communication's a little bit better. There's so much going on in the game at this point that it's not gonna be a killer in my opinion.
Technically, that should win every time, but obviously that's not the case with skill level disparity.
Yeah.
You know what I think's kind of funny, and this might just be something that I haven't seen in a long time. But he mentions that getting picked up by groups to be friends or willing to make friends and keep playing with the same group of people is something that I found a lot in season 2, season 3, way back in the day when you're starting to get into solo queue. I have not seen that in forever, and I can go back to my friends list and see a ton of people that I do not remember playing with, but I'm pretty sure that I must have because I know they're not a friend in real life, and I have them sorted into groups like for Trinity Force or X Victorious Gaming Shoutcasters or something. That is something that just doesn't seem to happen anymore, and I'm not sure if that's just because I usually play with groups of 5, because obviously I'm not going to go, "Hey, enemy team, you want to be friends after this?" But I kind of missed that. But
I did
now
see it
I just don't see
happen.
it.
I think it's the number of games you play, because I remember doing the solo grind last year, and it wasn't often. Again, it was kind of like punches 1-2% of the time, but I would have my support add me after the game, or a top lane add me after the game, or whatever it may be when I was playing and asked to duo. And I would always say, no, thank you, I'm going at this solo. I feel more comfortable doing it that way. But I think it depends on the number of games you're playing. If you're Mitch and you get 1-2 games in a week because you're on 2 podcasts
You just
a week.
big league some random guy. That's all I heard.
I remember what game an 80 carry added me after the fact, and I put it in the comment, that Vayne that was chill as fuck.
Yeah.
It was just like the Vayne player knew what was up. We didn't say a damn word to each other other than like nice job the entire game, and
That's the
player
best,
added
though.
me
I
after
love-
the fact. We
I love
never
those
played
silent
together, but
assassins.
I just remember that.
I fucking love it.
I mean,
that's beautiful.
That's also probably I probably should have mentioned that season 3 and 4 was when I was playing support main. So that's probably also a big factor in that, remembering that I'd play with a random person bot and we'd be like, oh yeah, we did well. Let's
I feel
run
like
that
if
back.
you were really playing regularly and you hit it with a jungler, like you might get that type of player adding you, but you would have to like really commit to playing regularly. Whereas when you're playing like a couple games a week or something, it's other bad, you're gonna run into somebody who really wants to keep going with you, and you're always playing with a full group anyway.
Yep. I'm too scared to play alone.
We know.
I have a friend who, like, when we duo or we play Twisted Tree Line or something like that, if he runs into somebody, like, he's just immediately add him, let's throw him in. And with Discord, it's so much easier to get all that type of stuff going. Like, using Skype or Vent or anything in the past, like, was just such a pain in the ass. But Discord really has helped out with all that type of stuff. But I think it's like a certain type of person that is inclined to just make friend everybody. Whereas I'm like, I never want to do it. I'm scared.
Yeah, I don't want to have Chira's friend list where you're constantly being bombarded with messages and game invites all the time, or
I love it.
Or what Chira's Discord looks like, where there's red ones everywhere.
I have people like talking to me, man, and I am a talkative fellow.
I'm happy.
But you
for
don't. But you didn't talk back to them because those are all unread messages in your Discord bar.
No. I have messages. I read messages in Discord. I'm just in a bunch of like Discord things where anybody talking in the fucking channel period updates anybody that's in it, and I ignore those. There are certain Discords I ignore, but I know those people and they're cool with it.
Is that like Machi and?
Yeah, it's like Greg and
By the way,
Machi and
Yazuki, right? That's it.
What?
Yazuki's the rogue player.
I haven't talked to. What?
Yazuki's a rogue player. I know this is off topic real quick.
Yeah, Yazuki played rogue back in the day.
Did you know he's streaming full time WoW for C9 as a rogue player doing raids and shit?
He's been playing WoW on the Illidan server for forever.
Anyway, sorry, I had to throw that offside because it just made me realize, and I would never talk to Cheer about that because I can't know about bandaged dicks during the day and get the reference. So. Call back to what you guys won't know. Man, great podcasting. Anyway, let's roll this back around to FlexQ. I am under the mindset that when I play FlexQ, I am very much like what Chris says, that I look at FlexQ as I don't care, but I want to have better competition when I play. However, I don't like that it's such a crapshoot when I get in there as to the skill level of the players. Generally speaking, Riot does a pretty good job. I go back and look at my matches after the fact, and a lot of times the guys that I'm playing against are all platinum, and that's the same rank I'm sitting at right now as platinum. And there might be, because like if I queue with Dom, who has your silver right now in solo queue after doing what you did, your placements got in silver, right? And
we did
I'm at
every
silver
single one of my
queue placements.
Oh yeah,
because that takes that into effect before you get your flex queue. So like if you and I queue together, we're playing against mostly platinums, and then there's that one random silver or bronze or gold guy thrown in. And so I think Riot does a pretty good job of trying to mix the groups up, just based on the ranks. But at the same time, like I don't get that same type of player that I would in solo queue that's like really trying to hard carry as hard as they possibly can because they want to get to that next rating.
That doesn't necessarily mean that those people are. So somebody brought this up earlier. So I don't think taking it less seriously necessarily means that you're playing worse, if that makes sense. Because with your example, the guy that's super tryharding might just play worse because he's tilted to a level where he feels like he has to carry hardcore.
Sure.
Whereas if you're relaxed and you're playing, you're having fun with friends, sometimes you play better.
Yeah,
Because-
when you stop putting the pressure on yourself to win, odds are good you're going to start performing better. Or I'm sorry, stop putting the pressure on yourself to succeed. It's probably a better way of phrasing
Tell
it.
that
It
to
applies
our,
to
tell that
more
to
than
our
this
0-6 over like 2 weeks.
Well,
Whatever, and
we're
we-
not.
and then we
I
made-
mean,
we're not
made
playing
poop
anything
crayon jokes.
serious.
in our defense, we won one of those games when Punch played Aatrox top, and we lost both ones that I played Aatrox jungle, but I also played Aatrox jungle, so I'm going to give us as a collective a pass for that one. And then
We had Galio. We were doing some Galio stuff.
You're doing
Yeah.
a lot of Galio stuff.
the Galio stuff happened, and then I don't know what the fuck happened last Monday, but we ate play eat 'em dicks.
I could try a little harder.
Yeah,
Maybe
all right.
a smidgen harder.
I think it also comes down to the fact like we're all happy to be together and gonna play games, and like I was around a little bit, so it was fun. But the kicker was that we realized about 26 minutes in the game that this is flex queue and there's some stakes to it.
Yeah, that happens. So
Well, it's also
Yeah,
a
I
small
mean-
issue when we all say, "I'm really happy to be playing with you guys," and we're like, "Hey, we maybe should stop like talking about how much we like playing with each other because we've been playing for 25 minutes now, only saying that and not communicating about the game at all."
Right, and like we don't. This idea that playing as a group of 5 means you're a whole lot more
Cohesive.
coordinated
Yeah.
is kind of wrong because we don't coordinate at all.
No,
Nope.
just fucking
Well, we never do.
spam-
It's literally just okay. Mitch is gonna play Valkaz because that's who he feels like playing right now.
We just sit in a bush and
Hey.
spam the Alistair cowbell because fuck it, that's
Yeah.
funny.
I'm gonna play Nunu because a listener asked me to. You know,
speaking of Nunu, did you guys see he jumped up quite a number of ranks in the win rating?
Is this where you eat crow?
Wow, I think we all eat crow here because we all said he's probably
Not
gonna
me.
suck ass.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, you weren't here.
I wasn't on that show.
I didn't say it meant in my head either.
It hasn't been an entire week. It's been about 5 days, but he's up to 53.83% solo queue win rate out of the jungle. He's moved up 11
That's a little weird.
spaces. And
Oh, what a hero.
And I'm curious if that may just be because more people are playing Nunu. I mean, obviously there's something to go toward it, or there's some credence to the fact that he did get buffed and he's doing a little better. But I still don't understand how Nunu is winning at 53.83% of the time when he has to play into champions like Amumu or Elise or Rengar. I'm really
I
at a
wonder.
loss here what's going on and why he's winning so many games because the jungle just does not do well for Nunu.
Well, I mean, clearly it does.
I'm,
So
I'm looking at his build, and it's just a bunch of full tank shit. And so I'm wondering, is Nunu succeeding because there are a lot of
Assassins and he's playing a full tank.
Well, there's that, and then there's also a lot of AD or attack speed based champions, and he's got some good tools for dealing with that shit.
Or to help them too.
Yeah.
Like he goes well either direction when they're in the game. So, like Twitch and Kog'Maw are the 2 highest winning rate ones right now. I think they like Nunu a little bit. I don't know why, but I think it might be Blood Boil. And the fact that now you had the slow that's now, or sorry, the Stoneborn Pact is another thing they would really, really like to have.
Yeah, that might be the other thing is like, you know, we had the listener who got excited about Stoneborn Pact on Nunu, but nobody else was playing and paying attention to it. But now combined with his recent changes, that like no matter how you look at it, unless they straight up nerfed all of his level 1 abilities, and I think it was just Q that got hit. But otherwise, like across the board, his passive just got better. You know, like I can see that stuff really feeding into it, and we really swung and missed. Adam, you and I.
Won't
I'll
be
say
the
it.
first time.
I'm looking at these win rate by patch,
Isn't the
though.
first
He
time.
he dipped in 7-6, but he was still doing fairly well. I think it's just I gotta imagine it's just a. So I don't know. I can't parse this data correctly and give you a good answer as to why Nunu's doing. properly,
Honestly,
'cause
though, you
everything I
shouldn't
know
be parsing
says,
it after a week anyway. Like, give it 2 weeks.
Yeah, we need more time.
Until like the next patch
Give it 2
cycle.
you give
And
it 2
honestly-
weeks, and then they're patching again. You can't
Yeah,
you
well,
gotta
damn
kind
it.
of look after 5 days.
But I mean, like, it will also know more given if they patch and he's mentioned again in the next one and be like, okay, well, he kind of hit what they wanted him to do. So if they don't change him, you know, they did it. They beat the Nunu balance game. We'll run it back and see what's going on and reassess the situation from there. I have no fucking clue. I haven't seen Nunu at all,
yeah.
even after the changes. But I kind of want to play him now.
What's surprising, Adam, is that both Champion.gg and Lalalytics agree on this.
Oh, his win rate.
Yeah, his ranking at the very least. They both put Ivern and Nunu as 1-2 respectively. From there, they differ.
Is this maybe? Sorry, I
Go ahead.
had one more point on this. Is it maybe like Ivern also kind of feeds into my thought as well. Like the changes for a little bit have been kind of pushing us towards team fights that are more, in my opinion, kind of attrition based. Like where lethality went down, so burst kind of didn't disappear from the game, but it's not nearly as prevalent on everybody. Champions like Ivern and Nunu especially are both very good in extended team fights because like they're not going to blow somebody up. That's never going to happen unless you walk into the Empire Brush and everything goes wrong for your team. But if you're giving persistent attack speed buffs, you're now giving persistent healing to all of your characters with Stoneborn Pact. That's the meta that's going on right now. Like Bork just came back into the meta, which is also very helpful in long extended team fights. Like that's really like going to benefit those champions a bunch. And I don't know if that's where the meta is shifting a little bit more. Twitch, Kog'Maw make me think that way. But I can kind of see why he would be spiking up there.
I'm just gonna have to take what you say and just kind of.
I mean, I don't know that that's right. I was kind of throwing that out to everybody.
Theory.
Yeah, all I can say it's a good theory because he has more assists than he does kills. He doesn't do that much damage. He does 10,000 damage throughout. His average damage dealt in the game is 10,000, and that's really low on the scale. In fact, the top two junglers right now are Nunu, Ivern, who both don't do any damage. But I like talking win percentages. I looking at these, but I try to take everything with a grain of salt again because, for example, Rengar is at almost 45% win rate in solo queue, yet he's considered pick ban LCS, right?
He's
so
super
he's really
top tier.
good. He's super top tier. Graves is the same way, 48.5%. Elise is down there at 49.9. All these are pick bans in the LCS, and yet they're doing really shitty in solo queue.
Are they on the live patch?
Yeah. What? No. Even if they're not, they're still these are all the top tier junglers. Even last patch.
They're on the live patch starting this week, I think.
Right. And not much changed in between. I mean, the only thing that changed this patch is Graves loses magic resist, and it just depends how you play Graves going through the jungle if you want to keep your True Grit stacked or not. And Rengar, what did he do? Did he lose just a bit of damage?
He lost 4.5%, but yeah, that was a good chunk.
Yeah, well, then again, I don't know what the fuck's going on with the LCS because I see there was like a Fiddlesticks picked and Shaco's been picked and God knows what the hell.
Fiddlestick support OP.
I've actually been thinking about that for a little while. Like, did we screw up in not picking him against Malzahar?
No, because he didn't have the range increase on Q. Because now his range.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Fear range is now longer than all.
And it was when he got that buff that I was like, wait, why haven't I been playing Fiddlesticks into Malzahar? Not that I ran into that much Malzahar. I was like, that's an easy way to deal with that problem because of the fear range.
Right. It's longer than an auto attack range for AD carry now. To give you guys an idea why Fiddlesticks support's being played. The next point that I wanted to talk about tonight is we're just going to move on to a new topic. Is that I want to talk about itemization because we had I want to say I had a listener question come in, but I've lost it since then. Do you remember what it was about, Dom?
No, you and I were talking a lot about this stuff just based on like a few different players that we have played with or that were asking us questions directly. It wasn't any specific listener question that came in to my knowledge, at least. It was more like sort of just anecdotal stuff from our own lives, but it kind of led me to this question: like, are people getting stuck on opening build paths and thinking like that there is? I mean, I can't even remember exactly what it was, but like basically, have you decided something that was prominent a really long time ago, but because you either weren't paying attention to trend changes or you missed the patch notes or you know, a better thing came into play, basically you didn't adjust your own sort of build path, and is that leading into struggles for you elsewhere? And I think a good example is Redemption, where we even counseled everybody to rush Redemption irrespective of the support that you were playing. And that was the case for the first like 3 or 4 from like preseason into around patch 7.2, but around 7.2, Redemption got nerfed pretty hard as far as the strength of its active, and the strength of its active was the reason why everybody should have been buying it all the time. Well, when they cut that down like way low, and it only ever got to its same level of potency, it's no longer a must-rush item on someone like Alistar or Braum, because the majority of the stats that you're getting from it aren't helping you the same way they would like a Lulu or a Janna. And so you need to start, you should have switched to itemizing for the job that you're doing. My personal belief is going for Locket every game, but you do you. But like that's the type of adjustment that I'm talking about here.
I've had a like, and I think this is always retroactive for me, and it always pisses me off that it's retroactive. Is in the same vein, not necessarily because we talk about patch notes. There's hardly a time when we like don't know that an item has changed, or like especially when on a major change. But the itemization that I always have an issue with when I was playing tanks was not checking everybody at load screen and being like, this is an item I should probably buy because they have a lot of crit that's going away on Randuin's now, or they have so much. They have so many attack speed based characters. Like we should have Frozen Heart. Should be probably a pretty early rush this game. And I think that's a lot of people get really bogged down into, like you said, itemization from the past. It's not like a Kog'Maw can go be like, I think Madrid's Blood Razor is still good on Kog'Maw because that doesn't exist. But things like I think that this item is still really good, and you're like, that dude, what the hell are you building Warmogs for? That doesn't make any sense on Riven.
My problem is not checking to see if my teammate built the same item. I don't run into it too often this season, but in past seasons, it would be like I would start building the items towards a Frozen Heart, only to later learn that my top laner already had it. So now,
sure. Also, don't run into that issue with me, because if you're in the game with me, I just won't buy it.
I know you won't.
Or
I don't even ask anymore.
Aegis was a big issue with that too. Like you'd like in seasons past, you'd have to ask, be like, hey, which one of us is rushing Aegis? Because it's very necessary.
But at least Aegis didn't bother me because the aura stacked in such a weird way. Like you still benefited from it, even if the rest of the team didn't.
Cover more area too if the team fights were spread out. But
yeah,
one of the items that sparked this conversation was actually Abyssal Scepter. And it might be the outlier item where it was a very good rush previously, and then they changed it, and you kind of, and you in your head you continue to go, wow, Abyssal Scepter is really good, but then you look at the item and you go, okay, the change, it got more expensive. It's now doing extra magic damage instead of reducing magic resist, and why isn't that as good? And I think that's the item that we're going to talk about right now too. Is Abyssal Scepter should never be an item that you rush. And it's much better as a 4th or 5th item at this point than it has ever been previously, because the item got more expensive a while ago, and 2, the aura no longer reduces magic resist. Instead, it increases magic damage by 10%. And which
sounds like a lot.
Right.
It really sounds like a lot of damage, and that's a case where you have to go through and actually do the math on some of your abilities, because in most cases, that's like another 5.5 points of damage that you really spent a lot of money trying to get. And that's including the ability power ratio from Abyssal Scepter itself and everything. Whereas if you can just go for something that's got like a ton of CDR, so you can pump out more damage, or just bigger ability power numbers or other stats that are going to be more useful to you in the early goings.
Void Staff is always better than Abyssal Scepter. Like for a 3rd item, for example, if you need that extra damage, because this is where I think my point was really good, but I don't have the math to back it up. There is a point where magic resist, where there's a break-even point between how much magic pen you have compared to how much AP you have, and I know that isn't just having the flat amount through runes, masteries, and starting items, right? So, and source shoes, rather.
That's like... There's like so much math that would have to go into this to account for, obviously account for different characters, ratios, what the opponent has as magic resist. But I think you were correct in the sense that if you look at the opposing team and realize that there is a bunch of, if I as a mid laner see a bunch of MR being built already on the team, I should look towards Void Staff instead of Abyssal presently. Obviously, that all is about to change real quick because Abyssal Scepter is going to be switched to Banshee's Veil, And
I
all that
don't-
is going to get bonkers in a minute.
I
but
don't want to spend too much time talking about that, but I do like the change, and like that's the thing about Abyssal Scepter that I kind of like right now. It's sort of like almost better for tanks that are going to be in the fight, that they can make their allies do the damage job better while they get in there and soak up a bunch of damage. But for a lot of supports especially, I think would want to get that item, but you're investing way too much into ability power, which in most cases, like, you just don't care about. The types of champions, I should say, that are going to be in there. Yeah, Galio.
And also
Amumu.
Galio, and that's Galio.
Yeah.
This item is
Braum,
phenomenal on Amumu.
Alistar, Thresh, like, all these champions are just never going to properly use Abyssal Scepter, but they would want it in theory because that aura is appealing.
Hey, so this is funny just because I was curious to see, like, I just want to see history of Abyssal Scepter. On my birthday, when I turned 20 years old, and this is hilarious how long this game has been out, the magic resist reduction was 40.
Nice.
That's horrifying. Like, I know that's like beta, but
Do you guys remember the old Starks, which used to have an armor reduction aura?
There was a lot of crazy items that we could talk about on an April Fool's episode again, much like he did last
or
year.
Memorial Day. Memorial Day we did.
Yes, while I want to get down, I'd like to go down that road and laugh about it. I think we'll steer away
Memorial
from this
Day.
evening. Yeah, we'll wait for Memorial Day again.
We'll just reminisce like crazy again.
I want to speak to New Amumu. I did get to play him twice this weekend, and
Yeah.
Me too. It was great.
he's great. He's phenomenal now. You
Called it. Called it.
Bandage.
Well, it has to be. It's like a straight buff, right?
It's a
there was
straight-
like
it's a straight
nothing.
It's
There's
a flat,
nothing.
it's a-
Yeah.
yeah.
The only problem that you run into Amumu is the same problem that you've ever had playing
They
Amumu.
didn't change that.
Right, they didn't change
wasn't-
that. I'm just putting this out here. Is that's like you think, because you could look at the notes and go, okay, Amumu's fantastic. I'm gonna start playing him now. But then you get in the game and go, why the fuck am I so slow at clearing specific pieces? Because Amumu sucks at clearing anything that hits him one-on-one. Like, a Raptors is the most amazing camp ever to take when you're playing Amumu, because they are dead in seconds.
Well, I mean, he's vulnerable early, and he should be vulnerable early, because if you run into him later and he's on even terms with you, good fucking luck now.
That's not even that much later.
It's like level 5. You don't even need 6.
Yeah,
you don't even need 6 anymore. I was in a game on Saturday where, like, I was telling you, Adam, I like this little thing where, you just take your blue buff, you go and kill Gromp. This is all on blue side, by the way.
Right.
You go and kill Gromp, you go and kill your wolves, you go and kill red buff, you take the Ember Seed over into the Baron Pit, and you fuck somebody's face while they're doing the crab because they haven't done anything else. Amumu be killing Lee Sin at level 3. I didn't know what happened.
The changes to Amumu, as long as you land Bandage Toss, you
They
can
hurt.
fuck any jungler.
Yeah, they hurt.
You got
They
double
hurt
buff
real bad.
Bandage Toss Amumu at level 3 or 4. You wouldn't expect this little fucking mummy to stick his bandaged appendage up your ass, but dude, it hurts. The thing is, you got to remember, and I had a shower thought this morning. It wasn't a shower thought, but I was in the shower thinking about it this morning.
If you're thinking about these weird dark shower thoughts about putting bandages in random places, I don't want to know.
No, I realized that I may have not been auto attacking after the bandage unless it was automatic that Amumu did it, because I never thought I would go a bandage E, maybe auto E, but I never like purposely tried to auto attack after I landed a bandage, so I don't know if I actually did it. But I do know the extra damage that I did when I ganked from my mid laner was there, so apparently I was doing it. I don't know. Either way,
And
you have to be
think they
consciously
don't-
auto attacking.
Yeah,
I
they
was
don't.
also
I think they.
right in that if you happen to have a mid laner that does crazy AoE AP damage, like Cassiopeia, shit fucking melts when you ult more than one person. It falls over. I've never seen Cassiopeias kill things so quickly.
Yeah, I think Adam, to your point, I think that I think it used to automatically auto attack, but I think the same thing changed when Alistar. If you remember the Thunder Cow, Alistar's headbutt would immediately get an auto attack in too, and they took that out because that was stupid. Same thing applies here, I believe. But yeah, Jesus, 15% extra damage as true damage on everybody after Cassiopeia gets hit after they get hit by Curse Stab Money.
I will foolishly admit that I was not super excited for this change because, like we said, it didn't touch on any of Mumu's weaknesses. Meaning, his clear was terrible and he wasn't a great dueler. However, The fact that he could actually duel people now at level 3 is a side effect that I didn't see coming, since you had to auto attack somebody before you could start doing the damage.
The thing though is, once you use bandage, if you can't kill them within like a couple seconds afterward, you're probably not going to chase them down and kill them, because at that level, like, bandage toss takes too long to usually get it off again.
Who cares? They're still recalling.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's almost a guaranteed blown flash if you land a Q, if they don't die. So that's nice. He's fun now.
He's fun.
He's fun now.
I called it.
He feels good to play. Like,
Yeah,
he doesn't feel good. I think you need to modify. Attacking Dragon has been talking in Twitch chat now, and I do think you probably need to modify your routes based on Amumu. You can't. It's hard to do. When I say it feels bad, it's really hard to start if you're on blue side to go red, race, blue, because you lose all the time that you saved at race. You lose all that and more at blue when you're soloing it by itself, because you don't have blue to start. So you have to pretty much start blue, and I think you need to modify your routes to go like blue, wolves, wraiths.
Well, that's the other thing too. If you don't start blue and you don't have the mana, like you're gonna go after a camp and a half. And you don't have the mana to like continue clearing, or if you're just autoing stuff down and banking on getting the intermittent despair procs as your mana slowly regenerates, and you get invaded, you're dead.
Yeah, you can't get out.
Like, you're dead, and it's the risk that you take. In that, if you play Amumu, you're starting blue, and they very well might invade the other side of the jungle, or they might steal your blue, and that's another issue. But he's still arguably the most blue-dependent jungler that's ever existed, especially at level 1.
Fiddlesticks?
I mean, Fiddlesticks is up there, but at least his ability gives him health back for pressing a button.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder what the, like, if somebody's done the math on, because his passive before, it was 20 magic resist was reduced, or it was taken away on auto attacks, I think. Like, I wonder how much, like, I feel like clear speed has to be helped at least a little bit with this, because to my knowledge, it does apply to the minions, or sorry, the monsters too. Like 15% bonus true damages, I would think offset at least somewhat in a positive way.
The caveat is as long as you have mana. It is faster as long as you have mana.
Of course.
That's all that is.
The same thing would be true.
Yeah.
Without before the change, like you still are doing magic resist. Oh, I still have to use my abilities to benefit from this.
Sure, but it doesn't speed up. You like I said, if you do red, wolves, blue, you have 0 mana to do blue, and you can just stand there and auto attack and stuff. Like, you have to have some kind of mana, and the tiers, even at rank 1, help a fuckload to clear every camp.
Oh yeah, they definitely do.
And obviously that's a persistent mana reduce or mana eating buff or ability. Thank you. So, by the way, Amumu was in a good spot. I agree with Dom from last patch last podcast and patch that if you haven't added Amumu to your arsenal for whatever reason, he should be in there now for solo.
So something that I think is interesting, and this is a very, very small sample size, is the highest win rate skill order has flopped to W max on the Amumu. It's it's 51 games versus like 3,500 for the most played. And I don't know if that's a real thing, because to my knowledge, Emax has always been what you do at Amumu, because you get so much more of it early in the jungle, you get more damage reduction. But now if the W might be able to get more persistent damage if you're just like getting all these 15% true damage ticks going off in the middle of a team fight. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, but post ulting, you're going to get way more out of your W than your E with this, because the ult does apply that curse. I don't know if that's the thing. I don't know if that'll.
I mean, I know that makes sense, but like Tantrum also reduces the damage that you take.
Yeah. I know
stuff. So like that in itself is pretty helpful. It depends on if you want to play things safer and you get really, really quick clear on camps that are hitting you with more than one thing. So
guys,
yeah,
yes,
Qmax, like that.
I mean,
but hey, the winningest percentage of core build is Liandry's, and we've said 100 times over that Liandry's probably isn't the way to go. I'm assuming.
Hey man, it has health on it. Why wouldn't you?
I'm assuming that if they're maxing W, they're also getting Liandry's and just trying to just burst the shit out of people through AoE.
Through cheesing with Q.
I don't
It-
trust
that's
these
the case
highest win percent builds because like this one and Aatrox, both the highest win percent builds are saying like 30% or 40% win rate, and that doesn't make any sense.
It's also in a really the higher win percent builds. It's out of 147 games. Like the highest win percent summoner spells are Ghost and Smite out of 40 games.
Right.
That doesn't
I know,
mean
but like,
anything to me.
but there's no way that you have a highest win percent build that's 40% win rate when a Amumu is 52% overall.
Yeah,
That makes zero sense.
Okay,
well,
to be fair
the
to
only
these
thing that-
changes, I agree with all you guys, with everything you guys are saying about how like these win. You have to look at the number of games that are played and the win rates and da 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 da. But like, let's just look at Amumu's real quick. You have a Leandri's. You're doing Leandri Cinder Hulk W max, so you're doing tons of AoE damage to whatever you're hitting, and then you're also taking Thunder Lords at the same time. So essentially, you're landing Q and just trying to blow somebody up in a quick rotation of percent max health.
Yeah, you're insta-gibbing people
Yeah.
on the gank. If you land your bandage toss, it's free.
Right, and that's a high risk, high reward play. Because
I mean, if you're good at landing bandage toss, it's pretty consistent reward play.
sure, but if you
So-
fuck it up once and you're doomed.
If you get behind, you're pretty screwed.
Right.
You know what's
No,
hilarious?
I'm-
Sorry,
I'm
real
inclined
quick.
to double. I'm inclined to double down on Leandri's now.
Yeah. I was thinking it's fuck. Finish your thought. Sorry, I'm like.
Oh no, just with the bonus damage coming in now, like it makes. Yeah, bonus damage.
I was thinking that that actually that's a pretty good interaction. I was thinking that this makes the old Amumu like so. The Amumu was like the first champion that you'd have to do the walk up and auto attack to apply red buff and then save your bandage toss for that in ganks. Like even more so now because you get the curse applied early on. Your bandage toss does more damage in a gank. Like you get way more out of it for saving that. Obviously, if you it is.
I mean,
go top
okay,
lane,
it's
like,
worth
that's,
it if you could absolutely get that auto attack in. Sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, but like if you just bandage toss in and then it's just like, "Hi, Ezreal, good job using your E afterwards. Bye." That was fun.
What type of? Oh, it deals magic damage. So grasp would also be dealing bonus damage
I don't know.
and Deathfire.
I never built Cinder Hulk, even though that's the highest core and winningest. I was building Runic Echoes and letting bandage.
Of course you
tosses
were.
and
'Cause
blowing
you're
bitches up.
even worse than all of these motherfuckers doing that.
I built
You-
Runic Echoes into Rylai's, into Abyssal Scepter, and I was blowing motherfuckers up.
I found out why we aren't winning games. It's because we're all playing stupid strategies that aren't team based.
Hey man, we're trying to break the meta. You know.
Yeah, right. Sean,
Are we?
Uh,
Are we trying to break our win loss records?
Sean's
No,
the Trinity
I
Force
actually-
Skarner no matter what happens ever.
I actually do it just because I have more fun doing it that way. It's what I do.
Hell, Thornmail is gonna do bonus true damage.
Yep. Just make him a passive true damage bot. It's kind of what he is now. So let's go crazy.
Yeah, you apply your ult. Galio jumps in and taunts them, and then with a Thornmail, and then it's all over because they just.
I'm telling you,
auto-souls to death.
watching Curse of the Sad Mummy into a Cassiopeia ult was the most satisfying thing. It was the most satisfying thing. Somebody just fucking fell over.
I was satisfied
What if-
watching Talia drop her rocks into a guy's face over and over and over again as I held him in place. So I'm just.
What if we do a Mumu Vel'Koz? Just
That would be good too.
that'd be fun.
I think Sean
Podcast
wants to
takes
play
too
Nunu.
long.
I don't know why.
I've been playing. I'll play both at the same time. It'll be crazy.
2 accounts.
Yep.
Dual
I'll
box.
jungle them both at the same time too. Double smites, whatever.
Well, while
go
you
crazy.
guys are listening to this podcast, you can dual box your way over to patreon.com/T-Force Network and sign up. We're going to get a couple podcasts out to you this month. Zero and I are going to talk about that now because we haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah,
but
we
we're
are.
going to talk about it. We'll get a couple podcasts out to you this month for some champions. If you guys have requests for champions you'd like to hear that we have not talked about, send us a message on Patreon. You can do that, and I'll reply to you. I get every one of your messages, and I read them. If you have a replay review, send that off to us. The client has replay reviews now, and you can do that.
Donate via Patreon. It's the only way Adam will ever respond to you.
Email me, feedback@trinityforcepodcast.com. If you have a question,
He'll respond to you there too.
I'll reply to you there.
Yeah.
You can do Twitter. You can find that TFPone or T Force Network. I'll reply to you as well there, and I will pass on anything that you ever have to say to anybody on any of our shows. I think we're just gonna go ahead and leave it at that. Anything else anyone wants to add for this evening? All right, crickets. I'll take
Too
it.
damn hot.
It's too
damn hot.
goddamn hot. Punch is gonna go take his pants off.
Sweating through my shirt.
turn the air on. Open a window. How about you just open a window?
I can't open the window because there's noise outside. I'm doing a podcast. I'm a professional here, Adam.
See, look at that. He's more professional than any of us have ever been.
I'm just going to sit here and sweat.
Listen, Punch, I feel you. I used to be in a really hot room that I wanted to open the window all the time, but I never could. And by the time the podcast got done, I felt like I was going to die. So I'm going to end the podcast here so you can open a window and enjoy
You're the best.
Our cold/warm weather. Guys, that is the episode number 431 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you on Wednesday with a new episode.
Kisses.
Good, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.
Peace.